We are so quick to talk about Silicon Valley as this special place you have to go to do a tech startup, and I think it's pretty clear that is not a requirement for success. I mean, Reddit was entirely done from Somerville, Massachusetts. But you do need to live in a place, and Paul Graham actually wrote a good essay about this. You need to live in a place that fosters the kind of serendipity that brings success. That is an environment where, and little things matter, like where, when you tell someone you're running a company, you're doing a startup, they aren't mourning you, or they aren't like, oh geez, well, you'll find a job, don't worry. Because there are plenty of towns, and even some cities where this is just not, it is really, really hard to pull together an ecosystem of startup people, of tech people who are really going to motivate you when the times are bad, because they will be bad. It's very bipolar. But if you find yourself in an environment where you can have this kind of serendipity, where you can run into the right people on the subway, or you can bump into the right folks at the co-working space, or you can even have co-working spaces to choose from, then I think that will dramatically affect your success. Now, there are founders. So one of my buddies, Drew Curtis, who's the founder of FARC, has been running this successful website, profitable website, for over a decade online. And it's a community website, which is insane, because on the internet, like, a decade is forever. But he's been able to do it, and he's done it entirely from Kentucky. And so that would be a great question to ask him. I know he gets a lot of inspiration from his family, from his friends. The FARC community, I'm sure, is very helpful. But it's definitely harder, because it's certainly not as interesting for media to cover, or for blogs to cover. It is something that is changing, and I think you can't help but you can't ignore a startup that is doing tremendously well, right? Like, even Chat Roulette is the one favorite example of mine, even though they're still kind of figuring out the business model. That kid was in high school running it from his parents' bedroom, or from his bedroom in his parents' house in Moscow, and it becomes a global sensation. It excites me when I see stuff like that, not just because it's so very quickly deteriorated into a bunch of just awfulness because it's the internet, but because he was on a plane within a week having meetings with folks like Fred Wilson, and now he's trying to sort of refigure how this company is going to work. But that's great. That shouldn't surprise us at all, right? If a talented person who's got an internet connection comes up with something that Katie Couric will be talking about a week later, like, awesome, that's great. That means this marketplace really does work, and it's less important where you are, though it's still important. And I personally also, I get a lot of inspiration from my father. He's a pretty awesome dude, and I don't think he's watching this, though. So, gosh, Dad, I just said nice things about you. Not even watching my Mashable interview.